Jesus said to them, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." And they marveled at him. Hey guys, welcome to the video this week. I'm out here going for a hike down at Glen Rock, and it's a pretty good day. It's a bit overcast, but nice for a walk and to do today's Bible passage. Guys, last week we read about the parable of the tenants, which Jesus spoke against the religious leaders. And today we'll read how these same religious leaders come back with some others, the Herodians, to question Jesus, this time about taxes. Should we pay them? They ask. Well, they sneakily are asking this question to Jesus. Anyways, before we read the passage today, I want you to think about these two questions. Number one, is a 40% income tax rate evil? And number two, should we pay our taxes? I want you to think about these two questions as we read today's Bible passage. So guys, we start a passage here in the book of Mark, and we're going to read from chapter 12 and verse 13 all the way to verse 17 today, and it starts at verse 13. "And they sent to him some of the Pharisees and some of the Herodians to trap him in his talk." Now, who are they trying to trap here? They're trying to trap Jesus, and we can see that by this verse that they're not asking Jesus questions honestly, right? They're only trying to trip him up in the hopes to have him arrested for trying to start an insurrection against the government. Now we'll continue here at verse 14. Now verse 14, it says, "And they came and said to him, 'Teacher, we know that you are true and do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances, but truly teach the way of God. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or should we not?'" Now let's pause for a minute, because it's almost comical reading this, how they come to Jesus with this fake praise, right? Saying, "Oh, you're truly a teacher of God's way." Meanwhile, they're not listening to him at all, and they're trying to have him arrested. And we know that they don't believe a word of what they're saying here. And Jesus knows this as well, and he's about to call them out in their hypocrisy, as we'll see in this next verse. So let's keep reading at verse 15, where it says, "But knowing their hypocrisy, he said to them, 'Why put me to the test? Bring me a denarius and let me look at it.' And they brought one, and he said to them, 'Whose likeness and inscription is this?' And they said to him, 'Caesar's.' Jesus said to them, 'Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's.' And they marveled at him." Well, guys, his answer is not what they had expected, but it amazed them. They marveled at it, which brings us to the questions that I asked you to consider, right? Is 40%, number one I asked you, is 40% income tax rate evil? We pretty much today in the West pay a 40% income tax rate, and the taxes are really high. Some might even say it's evil, like me. But for the government to take this much of our hard-earned money, right? And in my opinion, it's not fair. It's not a fair amount that the government's asking people to pay, and they squander our money. But this is my opinion, and we can agree to disagree on this point. But this leads us to the second question I asked you to consider. Should we pay our taxes? Well, the simple and unpleasant answer to this is very clear from today's passage. Jesus says, yes, we need to pay our taxes, right? So, sorry guys, don't cheat your taxes. God says to pay them. And God puts government over us so that we will obey it, and just to protect us as well, even though we can have bad government. And Jesus here is telling us, though, as Christians, we need to obey the government and as far as paying its taxes like we should, and also its laws. As long as we don't break our faith in doing so, if we don't break our faith in worshiping Jesus. Now, the real sting in Jesus' answer came at the end of it as far as the Pharisees and Herodians were concerned, because if we must give, where he said, if we must give to Caesar what is his, Jesus says we must also give to God what is his too. And that is something that these people, the religious leaders and Herodians, were not doing. They were not giving God what was his. And for a persecuted church in the Roman Empire, it would have an even deeper meaning, these words of Jesus. If Caesar asks for what belongs to God, not to Caesar, they could not give it for conscience sake. So Christians died. They died for refusing to give a pinch of incense to Caesar's statue. And in the same way, Christians suffer in our day for refusing to bow before pictures of emperors and dictators and presidents. We cannot worship person, party, or state, but only God himself. As a Christian, we only worship God. And this will become even more important near the end of the age, when the Bible talks about, in Revelation, the mark of the beast that will be ordered to be put on people if they want to buy or sell. And if you're a follower of Jesus, then you won't get this mark. But if you do, then you are a follower of not of Jesus, but you're actually a follower of the Antichrist. And we can read this in Revelation chapter 14, verses 9 to 11. Here's what it says. And another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a loud voice, if anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger. And he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels, and tormented in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest, day or night, these worshippers of the beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name. Wow, guys, when you read this, we can see it's not a good thing to get the mark of the beast and to worship the beast in this way, right? You end up in hell. So remember, guys, pay your taxes because God commands us to, but also worship God only. Don't take the mark of the beast, even if it means you can't buy or sell. Because remember, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world while he loses his soul? Profits you nothing. Anyways, guys, this is the end of today's video. I hope you learned something and it blessed you. And God willing, guys, I'll see you again next week. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video this week. And remember, true knowledge is meant to be shared. So go out and tell a friend, or 2 or 3 or 5, 10 friends what you learned about this week. And God willing, I will see you next time.